Zeki Housefather, who wrote on X that this month was, in my professional opinion, absolutely gobsmackingly bananas. Well, joining me live now are Dr. Indu Murthy, climate change lead at the Centre for Study of Science, Technology and Policy in Bangalore, and Dr. Ella Gilbert, climate change scientist for the British Antarctic Survey, I should say. Thank you very much to both of you for joining us. Dr. Murthy, let's start with you. What's your reaction to this report that says this is the hottest September on record?
It's no surprise at all. It's definitely true that every year, every decade, every month, we have record-breaking events, and it's a clear call for concerted climate action before it is too late and there is too less to fight for. And this is just going to continue.
And let's bring you in, Ella, and ask you the very same question. What is your reaction?
Well, I'd certainly echo those sentiments. This is not necessarily surprising. We have come to expect increasing temperatures and increasing numbers of extreme events associated with that. But I think what is surprising is the degree to which this record was broken and by how much these margins are changing and how much our records are breaking and how quickly. That's the real thing, how quickly and how hard these impacts are being felt.
Dr. Murthy, you're joining us from India, a country that at the moment is also, as well as experiencing record temperatures, is experiencing very heavy flooding in some parts of the country. How does a nation like India deal with some of the challenges around these climate disasters?
Well, I think over the years, it's kind of slowly moving towards preparedness as opposed to response to disasters. But that said, with a large population and a lot of climate-sensitive sectors and a huge population that's dependent on these climate-sensitive sectors, it's quite a challenge in itself. But at the same time, there's been quite some concerted efforts, particularly with respect to the heat and the heat action plans. That is something that Government of India has been working to put together information, working specifically with states, with specific cities and districts to develop what they call as the heat action plans. And these are playing a crucial role in raising awareness and providing guidance for individuals and communities to proactively safeguard as well as act against heat waves. It's a balanced mix of, I would say, short and long-term actions. And with respect to floods, of course, early warning systems is something that needs to be strengthened. And this was something that Government of India very clearly has been talking about, even at the COP events, that there needs to be a concerted effort across the globe to kind of ensure that global early warning systems are put in place so the losses are buffered or reduced over a period of time.
And Dr. Gilbert, what we're seeing in Europe are more unseasonal weather patterns as well, as we were reporting just then on the number of fires that continue to burn around Europe right now.
Absolutely. And we have seen completely gobsmackingly bananas events across Europe this year. We had record-breaking temperatures lasting for a really significant amount of time across southern Europe. And it's the kind of events that have been predicted associated with human-caused climate change. And unfortunately, the kind of temperatures and extreme events that we're seeing now and consider extreme are likely to just become normal by the middle of the century, in just a few decades, if we continue to burn fossil fuels, to emit greenhouse gases, and continue to do not enough to tackle these problems.
Let's stay with you, Dr. Gilbert, for the moment. We're heading to another COP summit. Every year, leaders around the world get together and say they're going to take action. What do you think Western nations will be expected to do? Will some of the targets perhaps change? We've seen here in the UK, for example, a bit of a change around the British government's climate policy, for example.
Well, the science is very clear. We are not doing enough and we are not doing it fast enough. The extremes that we're seeing this year are testament to the fact of how much we need to act, how urgently we need to act. There is a very rapidly narrowing window of opportunity to take the kind of action that means we can avoid really catastrophic change. We're already seeing climate change impacting people. We're already seeing people's lives and livelihoods being lost as a result. And unless we want to see that continuing and accelerating into the future, leaders at COP28 and beyond need to take very serious action that really tackles this problem head on.
And Dr. Murthy, you join us from India and South Asia, a region which is a large polluter, but also feels the impact of climate change, perhaps more than the West, many Western nations.
That's right, absolutely. And which is why I think the key to solving the problem is the recognition that there are disproportionate impacts across the world, be it different regions, be it different communities. And once people are kind of sensitive to that, then I think a concerted action which strengthens international collaboration on research, technology transfer, and funding for sure should kick in. And that's when I think we will start seeing real changes. And I definitely agree that, I echo the thoughts of the other speaker who said, we really need to act fast and the window is closing. And we are at crossroads because we need to tackle climate as well as sustainable development goals. And we are looking at development, but there is a large investment gap. So finance is key to solving the problem, particularly in the global south.
Okay, and Dr. Gilbert, I was reading here predictions that this could just be the start of us continuing to say, this is the worst, this is the worst. So things are just continuing to get hotter and hotter, more extreme weather events. At the British Antarctic Survey, are you able to kind of predict in the next 6 months, the next year, what that trend might be?
Well, we can predict much longer in advance than 6 months. I guess we have our forecast where we can say what the weather's going to be like, but there's a huge amount of effort going into predicting over the coming decades and centuries, and that's a real focus. In fact, something that I work on exactly is predicting the future of the Arctic and the Antarctic, because these regions are extremely vulnerable to climate change. They're the canary in the coal mine, and they contain vast quantities of ice, which of course has very significant impacts for sea level rise and the vast numbers of people who live near coasts, including myself, all over the world. So the polar regions are really significant for the whole world's population, even though they may be quite distant from our everyday experience.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Dr. Indu Murthy, speaking to us from Bangalore, and Dr. Ella Gilbert from the British Antarctic Survey. Around the world and across the UK, this is